Why doesn't PS Audio put regeneration into the products? Okay, that's a good question. It's legit. And it's from Casey in Portland, Oregon. Casey writes, "Hi, Paul. Could you just put power regeneration into each discrete component based on the amount of power that that type of component would use to ensure that each component signal sounds its best?" So a DAC wouldn't need as much power as a power amp. So could you cram the power regeneration into the DAC before the power supply that's already in the DAC? Is that not practical? And if not, why not? Casey, I think that's a really legit question. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with regeneration of power, we make a line of power devices called the power plants, and they regenerate electricity. In other words, it takes the AC out of the wall, converts it to DC, and then regenerates new and perfect AC, which really makes quite a difference in the way your equipment sound. But, our units are fairly large, and a lot of times they're overkill to the extent of, not from a sonic standpoint, but from the extent of how much is needed, right? So Casey makes a really good point. Why couldn't we just simply build a regenerator into, say, one of our DACs? Well, the answer is we could, but regenerating power is, the stuff inside to do it is often as much or more than the product that we're driving. So imagine building a regenerator. A regenerator is essentially a power amplifier, a complete power amplifier, outputs, voltage gain stage, power supply, big-ass transformer, and then it's got a whole computerized system in there to develop the sine wave, to measure what's coming in, to phase lock loop the two signals together, the ACs together. It's a fairly complicated thing. You can see many of the parts to do that are behind me. Here's one of the transformers out of a regenerator. Now, granted, that is a big transformer, and it can put out a lot of juice. You certainly wouldn't need that for a DAC, but maybe you'd need something like this. And then to that, you need to have a power amp. I mean, let's see, what can I show you? Here is a regenerating circuit, and this is just the small part of a regenerating circuit out of one of our smallest regenerators. This is a quarter the size of a DAC, and it's only half the regenerator. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. Now, yikes. That said, I suppose it's possible, and we've discussed it to a great extent. It would be pretty much impossible inside of a power amplifier. Our old, what was that? We made an amplifier years ago that had a regenerator built into it. I'm trying to think of what, it wasn't the 200C, but it was the C250. It had big meters on the front. That's the only time that we've ever done that. And more than half of that amplifier was the regenerator, which in order to put it into a normal size box, we really had to cut back on what the amplifier itself had in it. And it was more of a compromise than I had wanted. It was a fine sounding amplifier, but that's the only time we've ever tried to do it. A modern day regenerator is physically large, even if it's not going to put out a lot of power. And then there's the expense. They're not cheap. The parts cost to build a regenerator the way we do it, not with a Class D circuit, but a Class AB circuit, is easily as much, if not more, than the parts for a DAC. So our $6,000 DAC would now be $12,000 if we simply double the parts, because our pricing is always based on a multiplier times the number of parts and the labor to put it together. It's pretty simple. We don't say, I think the market will bear this much. No, what's it cost us to make? Multiply that, and that's the price. That's how we do it. That keeps it uniform. So it just doesn't seem right to double the price of a product just to have that regeneration circuit in it. I wish it were that simple. We decided quite a while ago that it would be much better just to build regenerators for those who wanted it, because one regenerator can power 10 different products, and the economies of that with 10, I don't know, call it five products, a power amp, a DAC, a preamp, a CD player, whatever, all those things. If each of them had a regenerator, the amount would be of cost would be astronomical compared. So that's kind of a convoluted answer, and I apologize, but that's essentially why. But it's a great idea, and intellectually it would be the right way to do it, because you could tune it exactly to what this one wanted as opposed to what that one wanted. And maybe someday we'll do that. But for now, probably not. Okay. Thanks. Good question. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.